And welcome to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071, 602 right now here on this Monday, March the 12th. Beautiful day here. Now it's sunny. Jake was mentioning how it's kind of annoying how it's sunny now that we're walking in.
I hate daylight savings.
Yeah.
Why can't we just pick one time and stick with it?
It's because of the sun and the moon. That's
but
just
like, how? Like, explain this to me. Like, I don't understand.
So,
Okay, I swear to God, if you explain how the sun works right now.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's basically because, so you know how, like, the Earth turns?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah.
it is spinning.
Okay.
And crazy, think about this. The sun goes around us, too. So, you know, there's certain times of the year where 2 p.m., you know, 6 p.m. even. That's the time we're at right now. Jake, 6:03 p.m.
Got it.
That time will be different light at different times of the year.
I think we'll save most of the sass for after. This is normal, Scott. These two right here, they had like literally a screaming match, I think, a few weeks ago about how the Cubs and the Dodgers.
Last Wednesday, this guy said he didn't like peanut butter and jelly, and I screamed like I screeched.
No, it's
That's
not that he doesn't
un-American.
Like
I
PB&J.
thank you.
He's never had a PB&J at any point in his life,
Yeah.
or lettuce.
Lettuce is fine. I don't.
Like, it's. I know it's ridiculous, and I know I can't defend it, but I mean, it's just, it freaks me out. I don't know.
Just as long as you own it.
Yeah, no, I
You
mean,
just
I
be,
know it's
you just
weird.
be you.
Yeah, it's me.
You can't be anything else.
I'm the guy who never has lettuce, never has peanut butter and jelly. You know, whatever, it happens.
Great way to start. Ori Benatar here along with Will Gerard, Tommy Polson, Jake Kassan, and we're joined by Scott Beatty here, one of the Illinois baseball announcers. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing fabulous. I feel like now I've arrived. I've never been on this station before. This was something I would walk by as a student, and I would just kind of press my nose at and like, oh, maybe I should do radio. You guys are so far ahead of the game from where I was because I wasn't even doing this, and I did it later in life. So you got a leg up.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, back in the day, the studio used to be down like on the Green Street level. So that's what Scott's actually talking about.
Yeah.
The students walking by could
yeah.
see
Well, actually,
it.
when I went to school, it was known as the Planet.
Oh,
Wow.
Jeez.
bring that back? I like that.
We went from a planet just to a studio. That's quite a...
Yeah, you were a planet. You're kind of like Pluto. You've been demoted.
All right, so we're the Pluto of radio stations. I guess that's a good way of saying it, but we're here to talk a little Illini baseball. 8-4 now, went on a 7-game winning streak. That was snapped in their last game on Saturday against Michigan State in a 4-2 loss. For those who haven't gotten out of Illini basketball phase yet, starting to get into baseball, what would be sort of the overarching way this team plays that you would describe to get the fans sort of into it?
Two big things come out. One, they fight. So even when they're down, they fight. And number two is they're really good defensively. They've taken away a lot of runs from opponents. First of all, you have 3 outfielders out there in Doran Turchin, Zach Taylor, and Jack Yalowitz who can all play center field. But they're all that good, and you can only have one in center field, so they've got speed all over the place. Up the middle is really good, and Ben Troike at shortstop and Michael Massey at second. Michael Massey last weekend charged barehanded a slow chopper. He had one option, and he just had it. He threw it behind his back to Brent Spillane at first base. It was the only way to get the guy. Did it like he'd been doing it all his life. I mean, they do that kind of stuff. They fool around in practice all the time and doing things. But just to see that in a game, and Ben Troike is as solid as they come over at shortstop. So up the middle, they're really good defensively. The lineup there's not really too many weaknesses in the lineup, and the bullpen has been really solid. So it's a good club, and they cracked the top 25 today for Baseball America's Bowl.
would you say this is one of the best defensive teams you've seen at Illinois in recent years? I've heard a lot about how that team really stacks up well in the field.
Yeah, last year it was just okay. There's good talent out there, but they weren't putting anything together to win. And this year, it's all starting to gel together. So from what I've seen over the last several years, yeah, it's a really good defensive team. Obviously, the 15 club was solid, but this is probably one of the best defensive teams they've had in a long time.
They're not too bad offensively, though, either.
No.
15 runs on Friday against Michigan State, 14 against Furman. There's a green monster over at Floor Field in Greenville. Some of these home runs I was seeing on Twitter from the highlights, they were smacking them.
Yeah, Brent Spillane hit one on top of a warehouse that's behind the Green Monster, and I would say it's probably a 5-story warehouse, and I don't know if that would equate to like your typical home stories, but we guessed it was about 70 feet up, and he landed it on the roof. And I said to the media relations guy there from the Greenville Drive, I said, how often have you seen it? I said, we've seen a couple of guys hit it up there on the roof, and we tracked those at 450. 450 feet. So I'm guessing it was about, based on where it landed, about 420, 430. It was a poke, and it was fun. We were broadcasting from on top of the Green Monster. So it was one of the first times I ever got to call a home run
Coming at you.
going over me. I said it literally went over my head, 35 feet over my head. It was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the guys up the middle, especially. I know, I mean, I don't remember what the exact stat was, but I think last year they were already ranked as, I think they turned the second or third most double plays in the country. And they're, I mean, obviously it's still early this season, but kind of where do you see them going from even those freshman years last year?
Well, part of the reason you turn a lot of double plays is because you let a lot of guys on base. So the numbers have gone down this year.
Which is good.
Yeah, and that's actually a good thing. But where they need to go is consistency, and from the starting pitching especially. The starting pitching has not been bad. It just hasn't been yet. I think there's another level it can go to yet. And really what's cool is Quinn Snarskis, Ty Weber, and Andy Fisher, I think, are all interchangeable in terms of who could be your Friday guy, Saturday guy, and Sunday guy. I don't think there's really a downgrade or an upgrade with any one guy. It just looks at like matchups. But if they can get you to a place where they're really holding down opponents all the time and getting you into late innings, now you have time. Now you've got options for like Ryan Thompson to come in as a setup guy. Joey Gerber is a top 10 round prospect, and he's thrown in the mid 90s. So I think it's probably the piece that's missing right now is consistency from starters. And again, I give them a B plus A minus, but looking for kind of an ace type performance all the time from somebody. And all three of those guys, I think, have the capability of being that. And then the other thing is in the lineup just to continue to be consistent, because when they are grinding out at bats, they're really tough outs, top to bottom. There's really not any significant holes in that lineup. They're still trying to figure out the DH spot, which has typically been in the A spot in the lineup, but the other guys are all regulars now and solid.
Mm-hmm. You listen to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. It's brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. Make sure to go to fightingillini.com or call 1-866-Illini-1 for more tickets and information. Again, that's fightingillini.com or call 1-866-1 for more ticket information. So, first home game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, they're moving it because it's going to be cold tomorrow, but they're anxious to get back. I mean, we had to experience some warm weather, but I think here's the thing. You go into Illinois Field, it's free, and this is a fun club to watch. They're just going to be in most games this year. They're just not going to lay down. That was sometimes the case last year. So I think it's worth your while to get out there and make that a raucous atmosphere because they live off that stuff. Mm-hmm. They really love it.
Playing Wisconsin-Milwaukee Wednesday at Illinois Field, and then a weekend series in Carbondale against the Southern Illinois Salukis. So 4 games, all in Illinois for the week. Would you say it's realistic for the Illini to be contenders for a Big Ten championship this year? Or is it too early to say?
It's a little early. I would right now. My guess is, having not seen the rest of the Big Ten, my guess is they're in the conversation amongst the top 3 clubs. So I think first of all, they should be back in the tournament at the end of the season, which only takes the top 8 teams, and they've missed that the last couple of years. But I think right now, the way they're playing, you're talking about an NCAA regional team, and the Big Ten usually doesn't get a lot of bids, so they have to be amongst the top right there to do that. Obviously, if you win the tournament or whatever, you're going to be in the regionals. But Indiana's ranked, and they'll get to play them this year, as I recall. I think they are probably going to be starting to talk about that. The thing was with this team is, can they win? Because last year it was like a lot of young talent. This year it's like, okay, can they win? Now they've started to win already, and they've beat notable opponents. So now how do you handle that success and keep moving forward and not just sort of rest on that or get freaked out by your own success too, which can happen.
I had something.
You had something?
Man,
I was thinking you were going to have something.
Yeah, I had something.
That's where your co-host is supposed to pick you up.
Yeah.
He's picked me up in other moments, so it's okay.
All right, well, just to pivot in a different direction here, Scott. What do you enjoy about announcing baseball games? I know you have a lot of experience in the booth. I mean, how does it compare to a sport like basketball, even, which you do as well? Correct?
Yeah, I love it, and people tell me, "Oh, baseball has got to be so hard because of all the time to fill." I feel it's the opposite. To me, I love it because I have time to tell you that the shortstop is ranging a few steps to his glove side and is scooping and then throwing across his body. Whereas I feel like in a faster paced game like basketball, or I've done some volleyball, there's so much happening and I can't tell you everything that's going on because there's so much. Or even football where there's 22 guys doing something on the field and I can only really tell you what's happening with the ball. I feel like there's time to elaborate what's going on and tell you about the colors and the way the grass is mowed and the dimensions of the field and what so-and-so is wearing out there behind the third base dugout and all those kinds of things. So to me, baseball's my favorite. I think I just grew up around it, just grew up watching it and loving it. You know, I'm a Cubs fan, so love that. Will.
Are there any announcers you try to emulate?
I think Pat Hughes is sort of the first thing because he's the guy I listen to the most. When you start to get,
He's got a beautiful voice.
he does. When you get developed enough, you don't want to imitate because then that becomes, you want to become your own thing. But his technique and his delivery are really good. And then there's other guys where I go, I wish I could be like them. And it's not my style, it's not my personality so much, but I love John Miller out in San Francisco. Just the way he can tell a story and just sort of weave in and out of the game and into a story, and he's telling you what's going on in the field. Next thing he's doing is a Japanese impression of Vin Scully. So I want to be able to get there. But those are some of the guys that I really enjoyed. The other guys I enjoyed growing up listening to on radio was Wayne Larrivee, who's now the voice of the Green Bay Packers on radio, but he was the Bears announcer in the 80s and 90s, and he was fabulous. And then Neil Funk, he does TV for the Bulls, but he used to do radio, and he did it during the Jordan years, except for the first year when it was Jim Durham. And so just growing up listening to that, I was, glued to every Bulls game and hearing him and how he described hangs, fires, scores. It was just music on the radio. I loved it.
Do you have any fun, odd play-by-play stories? Because one thing that always sticks out is whenever I've talked to play-by-play announcers or went to see them speak, they always mention something odd they've had to call. For example, the Titans play-by-play announcer told us a story about how he had to announce paintball, and his analyst was sick, and he had to make everything up about like the World Paintball Championships. Do you have any experiences like that?
Well, one struggle I had was I got called to do the Big Ten Rugby Championships amongst the club teams. Illinois has a club team, and they were hosting this a few years ago over in the fields by Florida and Lincoln, like where football had their early season practice this year.
Over by PAR for those students out there listening.
Yeah, right, just south of PAR at FAR. So I'm out there, and they put me at a table, field level, like on the sideline, and I had like 3 days lead time to go learn rugby. And so now I'm watching clips on YouTube, and I'm hearing the announcers telling me about things. And the very basics of rugby, you can figure out. There's some similarities, obviously, to football. But anytime they get in a scrum and the referee blows a whistle, there's something that happened in there they can't even see. And I was listening on YouTube, and like usually the referees are mic'd up, and they're explaining exactly what happened. Now I'm field level, so I have no depth perception of what's going on the other side of the field. It was miserable because I'm just basically going, well, there's another stoppage in play for some reason, and there goes Smith, and he will put it through for a try. So that was kind of miserable. The other fun thing is when you find out who's listening, and I was in minor league baseball, and the team was having a really great year, but there was that guy in the bullpen, the kind of the 5-5 guy at least. He's in when you're up or down 5 late in the innings, and they don't want to use like the good guys. So he'd said, hey, my mom's been listening, and she says, good job, but she has a request. Could you stop saying my ERA every time I come into the game? I was thinking, nope. Sorry, Bob. I got a job to do.
What was it?
It was in the 7s, at least.
There's probably a good reason behind why you didn't want you to say that.
These guys are all trying to get jobs. Like, it would help if you didn't say what his ERA was.
7. 5-5 pitchers. I was one of those back in high school, so my ERA was definitely higher than 7.
We got a lot of pitchers in the studio. One thing you've talked about already here, is your experience with baseball growing up. You said that's what you're the most familiar with. With spring approaching here, you've got your son in the studio. That's something we haven't talked about yet. Has baseball started for you guys yet? Are you out in the backyard playing catch and stuff?
It will be when it starts to warm up, and
not quite warm enough yet. Is there a certain temperature you look for then?
Let's see, minimum 45 degrees. But he likes to copy whatever we're doing, but he loves numbers. So last year I was filling in on PA for baseball, and he came along, he sat with me there, and then we went in the backyard, and he was going up into the patio and announcing made-up names and numbers and pretending to be the PA announcer. That was more interesting than being in the game, which I agree.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Definitely agree with that. Mentioned Cubs fan.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about the team this year?
Love it. I just nervous that, especially in the rotation, they're not going to live up to their billing.
No.
That's where I'm
Where have
nervous.
we heard that before?
But look at this.
Whoa.
I have said that to you
Jake.
multiple times.
I took a screen grab, though, off MLB.com of the two projected lineups for the Cubs and the Cardinals. And I looked at the two, and I thought, why would you be that upset if you're a Cardinals fan? That's not a bad lineup.
I've never. yeah.
I can speak on this because it's bad, and Mike Matheny's still our manager.
The one Cardinals fan in studio.
Everything is bad.
So you're the anti-Mike Matheny.
It was fine for the first couple years, but it's gotten pretty old.
But just look at those two lineups side to side and just go, you know what? If some of the Cubs hitters have down years and some of the Cardinals hitters come back up, I mean, Yadi Molina
dying
is
right now.
Yadi Molina is he past his prime? Is he going to be hanging on too long? Or is he going to have a great year?
See, people like to say no just because he can still hit flare singles into right field and have a 300 average, but I mean, he's still good. I mean, he's still like a good defensive catcher. I like what he does, but he's not like a superstar anymore that's going to carry the team anymore.
Yeah.
But that's why we have
He should not have been starting in the All-Star game at catcher last year.
No.
Like, I respect everything Yachty's done. I think he's one of the best catchers of all time. But, oh my
No, I'm with
goodness,
you.
he's not that good right now.
Not even close.
The gold catching gear, though,
It's sweet.
decent.
I'm a
Decent.
fan.
Would you say Cubs World Series is very likely, or you?
All the Dodgers are still.
No, it's
around, so-
never. It's nothing's likely in baseball. But what seems to me is the teams that were powerful last year are the same again. You know, there's going to maybe be a little bit of adjustment, and somebody sent me on Facebook a picture of like the projected standings. This was like a month ago, and said, "Scott, what do you think?" And I'm like, well, I think 60 and 102 is accurate for the Marlins, but after
Yep.
that, it's a toss-up. I mean, you know, it's baseball.
That
and
might
it's
be
a-
high, honestly.
Yeah, it's
60
a long
might be
season. But I think the top teams from last year are probably the best teams again in both leagues. You know, look at the National League. Who's going to be better than the Dodgers? Maybe the Giants are going to give them a run. It'll be Cubs, Cardinals in the Central, and Milwaukee in there. Don't see anyone else really making noise. And in the East, it's going to be the Nationals and maybe the Mets again. You know, so. But anybody can win in October. You know what I found out? It's hard to win a baseball game. It's really hard
Yeah.
to go. You can just show up and win a game a third of the time. Casey Stengel said, "I don't get paid to win every day. I get paid to win 2 out of 3 as a manager." And that's how baseball is. So every team in the bigs is going to win 50 games or so, and everybody's going to lose 50 or so. It's what you do with the ones in between. So.
No, that sounds accurate.
No, that's very accurate. But I do have to point out that all the top teams are probably the same, but the Yankees got a little bit better.
Yeah, they did. I don't want to face that team if I'm throwing.
Exactly. See,
I think Coach
It's a
got some
smart man
shoulder
right here.
I think her shoulders flaring up.
Or
Better
do you
skip
like
me.
the Yankees?
Yeah.
huh?
Or do you like the Yankees?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Just checking.
Just needed to throw that out
I
there.
just
Are
wanted
you
to
from
check.
there?
No, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, but my dad grew up in New York. So
Fair enough.
Big Yankee fan, but I'm also a Browns fan and a Cavs fan. So I have.
So you've had all kinds of
All
elation
kinds.
and suffering.
oh plenty.
Yeah, we bring up the Browns and how LeBron's leaving about three times a show.
We'll definitely talk about the Browns later on with all the trades they made on Friday. But one last
You
thing.
seek out odd mixtures of pain and pleasure, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's an accurate assessment of my teams and probably the way I conduct my life.
Yeah.
So
Needn't go no
We're
further.
getting deep in here. We're getting deep in here, folks.
one last thing I want to ask you about. March Madness is coming up.
Yeah.
Did you take a look at the bracket yet?
Kinda. I looked at it to go, okay, I don't know. I think Xavier's kind of a question mark as a number 1. I think Kansas is a little bloated too.
I
Give me
agree.
Xavier
Their
all day.
ranking.
I want Xavier winning it.
But
I got it.
Nova's Nova. There's a part of me that really wants to see Purdue go far. So I don't know how objective I can be in filling out them in the bracket, and I can't remember who they might see in the second and third rounds. But I want to. I like what Matt Painter's done. I think they're a really complete team, and it'd be good to see. I know I hate that as an Illini guy, right? But I think it's their turn.
So do you typically root for like Big Ten teams during like March Madness, or is like Purdue
Yeah.
kind of an exception?
No, I think it's good for the Big Ten anytime they go deep. So yeah,
Agreed.
You know, but I root for basketball. I mean, you just want to see great games and see what happens. So basketball has become the most equal sport across obviously between them and football. I mean, it doesn't take as much to get a big time basketball program going, and you can do it quicker in a rebuild than you can in football. And there's just a lot of talent out there, so there's a lot of teams that can be competitive in it. So you just never know. But at the end of the day, probably the teams at the top are going to win. We'll see.
Yeah, we will definitely see. We're all going to fill out brackets and probably get like 75% of it wrong, as it is every year, for most of us at least.
I always feel good if I get 75% of the Sweet 16 right. I
Yeah.
feel like you're solid there.
I think it's a pretty solid bracket if you have like 75%.
And I've had that in the past, but the problem is just my brain's full. I can't think about what else is going on now in the American Athletic Conference. Okay, I know Cincinnati and Houston are supposed to be good, but I haven't really absorbed them. I focused on the Big Ten and the Illini, so sometimes I feel like because you're more in it, I have less of a chance. One year, okay, this is going to go back a ways. My wife and I filled out brackets, and George Mason made a run. This was
06.
Yeah. Okay, so we had just binged on the first season of 24. You guys remember that show?
No.
24?
Yeah,
I love 24.
with
Absolutely.
Kiefer Sutherland,
Jack Bauer.
and the director of CTU, the counterterrorism unit, that was Kiefer's boss, was named George Mason. So we're filling out brackets, and my wife goes, "Oh, George Mason, yeah, I like that character." So she filled them in going far, and like had the best bracket in the group because she just picked on that. Go figure. I think blue is the most common color to win, so you can always go with blue. There's a lot of ways to look
Or
at
you
it.
could just go with like the Blue Bloods. They tend
Yeah.
to win most years.
I've seen some very, very weird ways people have picked brackets.
Coin flips do it.
Coin flips actually might be the best way to do it. 50-50, keep it simple. Well, we're definitely going to be talking more March Madness later on the show, but we wanted to thank Scott for coming on the show. Also, his son Elliot making a cameo appearance back there.
Gave him a phone, and he's happy.
Well, appreciate having Scott Beatty here, the announcer for Illinois baseball. We'll be back shortly with more March Madness talk and our final thoughts when we return to Illini Drive right here on WPGU 107.1.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 107.1.
Welcome back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. Ori with Will, Tommy, and Jake. Just the four of us now. Scott took off, so we're going to be, first off, taking you through what happened in Illini athletics this past weekend. Baseball did pretty well, putting up 29 total runs in their first two games of the weekend, and then that's pretty good, right? Pretty good.
A lot of runs.
Decent. And then they lost to Michigan State to lose a 7-game winning streak, but they've got a game coming up on Wednesday at home against the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Panthers, their
Fun
first
fact.
home game.
2 friends on that team.
Two friends. You have friends on every team.
Starting shortstop, starting center fielder. Shout out Devin and Mike, but we're still going to win.
Okay. More shout-outs to Tommy Polson, the knower of every college baseball player in America. I think it's safe
It's because
to say.
he was an elite prospect himself back in the day.
Elite prospect.
Facts.
Softball had some games, too. They lost a doubleheader on Friday, got a victory with a no-hitter. Emily Ostreich throwing a no-hitter on Saturday, and also softball winning also against UMass Lowell on Sunday. Women's tennis got a huge win against Purdue. Men's tennis picked up a victory against Northwestern. Women's tennis also beat Indiana on Saturday. So Illini Athletics, once again, phenomenal weekend in general. Not too many losses since the month of March has begun. And this weekend, obviously, we've got baseball with a big away series against Southern Illinois over the weekend. Softball's got more games. Men's gym has a huge meet at Huff Hall against Oklahoma. But Isaiah Martinez goes for his 3rd national championship in Cleveland this weekend, as all of the Illini students will be heading home for spring break.
When does all the wrestling tournaments start?
The
Do you know?
NCAA
Yeah.
wrestling begins on Thursday.
Thursday?
It'll be on ESPNU Thursday, ESPN on Friday, and then on ESPN on Saturday will be all of the finals.
So it's
live
just
from
3
Cleveland.
days?
Just 3 days.
Huh.
So I think the first couple rounds are on Thursday. Friday are like the quarters and the semis, and then it's just the finals on Saturday. That's usually the format. It's going to be in Cleveland. I don't know which arena it's going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be at Quicken Loans. I wouldn't see any other arena that they would put it in Cleveland. They put it in Madison Square Garden.
I'm almost certain it's in Quicken Loans.
Definitely Quicken Loans. I mean, there really isn't any other arena in Cleveland to begin with. But let's talk March Madness now. The bracket's out. We don't know who's going to win. We don't know who to pick even. I picked my bracket already. We're going to reveal our full picks on Wednesday. You got Nova? Okay, I got
my boy Jalen Brunson.
I got Michigan State.
Stevenson grad.
I got Michigan State going all the way.
Really?
And yeah, for me, this is probably the closest I followed college basketball in my life because I covered the Illini team. So I've seen every Big Ten team play. And I honestly think it puts me at such a disadvantage when it comes to picking the bracket because my philosophy is the less you know, the better you'll do. Like, I've had people at my high school who don't know anything about basketball, and they're picking 15 seeds to win, and they got them right. Like, I've seen people pick the Norfolk State upset against Missouri. Someone picked the Lehigh upset and got it right. So this is the most I've known about these teams, and I just feel like that's not going to help me. But any big upsets you guys are seeing, there's a couple that catch my eye.
I mean, I've got Michigan in my Final Four.
Of course you do. Because
they're really good. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I'm sorry. I think they're a very good team.
You got them beating UNC in the Sweet 16.
I do.
Wow. Okay.
UNC's good. I just think that Beeline is built for the March.
He's built for the March. Yeah. Well, Michigan would have a tough second game against either Houston or San Diego State. Houston is low-key really good.
Oh, my gosh, Jake. I just saw that tweet you had earlier today with that dog in the car. Like, wow, that's just simply adorable.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to throw you like a retweet on the Illini Drive account so everyone can see that because that is # quality content right there.
Wow.
Speaking of dogs, how about Gonzaga? How the Bulldogs going to do?
Oh.
Because they're ranked in like the top 10 in the AP poll, but they're only a 4th seed.
I mean,
That was funny.
Do they beat Ohio State if Ohio State
don't
beats South
think
Dakota
so.
State?
No.
I just don't feel like they have a guy that can match up with Keita.
I think Gonzaga could beat OSU. OSU's
Yeah?
cold. Yeah, I don't know. So that's the West region.
I was watching something today saying that they thought that literally like if Ohio State would have just beaten Penn State this year, they would have won the league. Like
Probably.
they're more or less just one team
Yeah,
away.
those
from,
3 games against Penn
Right.
State cost them like a top 2 seed or a
and that's what I'm
3rd
saying.
seed.
Like I think that they're a lot better of a team than people are kind of giving them credit for coming into this tournament.
I feel like Arizona State's better than an 11.
I agree. I think whoever wins the Arizona State-Syracuse game is going to be TCU and could even beat Michigan State, but I just think Michigan State, the fact that they have 2 lottery picks on their team is just such a huge advantage. The rest of the Midwest region, that for me is the best region. Kansas is the number 1. Duke is the number 2. Trae Young in Oklahoma is the 10. Trae Young can obviously pop out of nowhere.
I feel like Trae Young is going to pop out of nowhere just because like he hasn't played well, and now people are starting to question if he's a legit
It's
prospect.
gonna be so sick on Cleveland.
No. Well, latest mock draft has Cleveland with the 3rd pick, and they have them picking Jaren Jackson Jr. So,
Where do they have the Bulls in that?
The Bulls, they have them
8th
8,
still?
picking Michael Bridges, which is a good pick.
I don't hate that, actually.
That's
Okay.
a good pick. Clemson and Auburn are also in the Midwest bracket. The 2 football schools could face off against each other in the second round. Looking at the South region, Virginia's region, they're the number 1 overall seed. The upset that catches my eye that I'm picking in basically every bracket, Loyola Chicago Ramblers are going to beat Miami.
I don't think so.
No, I'm calling it, man.
I don't
Loyola's
think so.
the underdog, and then they could honestly beat Tennessee. Or Wright State could beat Tennessee.
I think Davidson's going to beat Kentucky.
No,
Really? Kentucky's hot, though.
Kentucky's such a hard team to pick right now because they were so like all year, and
now
right
they're
now
hot.
they look really good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Potential Sweet 16. I mean, Virginia v. Arizona, or even Virginia v. Kentucky.
Will got stuck.
What the hell happened there?
Hey, wait,
Hey,
kids,
whoa.
We just had Elliot in here. Come on, man.
He's gone now.
Well, what if he watches and hears you say that?
Okay, fine. Sorry. I'll
watches the
watch.
radio show?
I'll watch
Oh,
my.
on UPTV when it's there on Wednesday.
There are children who watch our show.
And we have 2
Listen,
children
maybe.
on our show, as Jake was going to text me, but he forgot.
I texted Cole that, actually. That's why he was laughing.
There we go. So, yeah, I think Virginia-Arizona could be a really good Sweet 16 game. I think
Arizona's gonna smoke them.
No, I got Virginia Final Four in that region. I just
don't
think they're too
Virginia's
consistent.
that good. I
think-
really don't.
Also, I think Aiton's just going to body them.
Virginia just gives me like that Northwestern feel where they're just like stinky. Like they're not. But
that's-
obviously, like they have. They're much better than Northwestern. I'm not
Yeah, but
saying
last
that,
year, Arizona, everyone thought Lowry was going to be the one to just stomp on everyone, and then they lost to Xavier in the Sweet 16, was an 11 seed.
Xavier was sweet last year.
What I'm seeing is I think we're going to see teams that can't get over that hump finally get over the hump. Virginia's finally going to get to the Final Four. I think Xavier is finally going to get to the Final Four, just like how
I
Gonzaga
think Xavier's
finally
got a
did
tough
it.
draw.
Xavier has a tough draw, but I think Xavier could do it.
Also, I think Texas is going to make the Sweet 16.
You got Texas
I was
beating
gonna
Cincy.
say that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're going to beat
I have
Cincy.
Texas winning. I think Cincy, though, makes the Elite Eight.
Really?
I think low key, everyone's going to be like, oh, Cincy's the worst 2 seed. They're not going to do well. I
Cincy's
think they
legit.
get
They're
far.
a very good team.
Yeah.
I think that a guy like Mo Bamba is just going to
Unreal.
go way big up on his draft stock throughout the tournament.
I am excited, just back to Xavier for a second. I'm excited to watch Xavier stomp Mizzou.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Because Mizzou beat Florida
kinda
State.
Scares me. Mizzou's going to beat Florida State.
Yeah.
Mizzou kind of scares me with Xavier. I think that's 2 games under Porter Jr.'s belt. They'll have John Tate. I'm just saying.
2 games?
But like earlier this year, we were talking about this team being like a Sweet 16 caliber team, possibly. Now that he's back, if he actually is,
They lost, what's his name, too?
Huh?
Hayes, we were talking about that.
Yeah,
earlier.
I know.
Was
And
it
I
Hayes or
mean,
Harris?
we don't
One
know
of the
if what's his name, Barnes. Is it Barnes?
They lost someone.
They lost
We just talked about
They
it
have
last
some
week.
injuries.
Well, there's another player that just got arrested on a DUI, so I don't know what necessarily is going to be going on with that. I don't know if they're going to let him play, what the deal is with all that. So
No, Xavier's going to destroy
I
them.
hope so, because I mean,
Destroy them.
I do think that they're a very good team. They're very fun to watch. They're well coached, and I mean, they obviously made the run last year, and it's majority the same team.
Yeah,
Like,
but their road is tough. They would play Mizzou, possibly Ohio State or Gonzaga, and then the Elite Eight. You're looking
Michigan.
at UNC, Michigan, or Houston, or even Texas A&M, or even Lipscomb, the 15th seed. It's possible.
don't look over those jackrabbits.
But in terms of an
shit.
upset region, my upset region is the East region because I think Villanova has a really tough road to the Final Four because first round game against Radford or LIU,
Bama could
fine,
beat
win by
Nova.
50. I think Bama could beat Nova because Colin Sexton is honestly the most underrated player in the country.
West Virginia's
West
really good.
Virginia's always good in the tournament. I actually have them in the Final Four. And then
I can't wait for the Cavs to pass on Sexton for Trae Young.
that's not gonna happen. No, it's not gonna happen.
Trae Young's going to be your best player.
My
How's that feel?
No, our best player is still going to be Kevin Love, and then Rodney Hood. My big upset in that bracket, I got Marshall beating Wichita State because I remember the way Marshall played against Illinois. They were bombing threes, bombing them. They were shooting them from like 35 feet and just hitting them.
Do you think that we would beat Wichita State?
No,
So transitive property. I don't.
I'm
think
not
that they
transitive
are.
propertying this. I think Marshall has a good enough three-point shooting team to beat Wichita State.
If we couldn't beat Wichita State, what makes you think that they could?
It's called March Madness. Why do you think it's even called that? Because
Whatever.
all this madness happens. Speaking of more madness, I think Butler is going to make the Elite Eight as a 10 seed. They're going to
They're going to
beat.
beat Arkansas.
They're going to
Butler
beat
always-
Arkansas.
You think they're beating Purdue?
I think they're beating Purdue.
You're
and
out of your
Butler
mind.
I
always
have them
plays
beating
well.
Florida.
Butler always plays well.
Always
though.
plays well.
Yeah, but this is not the Butler with Gordon Hayward of the past, and they're also
Butler made-
they're going up against one of the best Purdue teams in recent history.
Butler made the final the year after Gordon Hayward left, and
I
their
know,
best
and
player
I'm-
was Matt Howard and like
I'm not-
Shelvin Mack.
Don't hate on Shelvin Mack. Shelvin Mack's still good. What I'm saying, like, don't get me wrong, Butler, very good team, huge fan. I like Butler. I hope they beat Purdue, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Any big upsets for you, Will? We were filling out some brackets. One
Oh
I
my
saw.
gosh, I was just picking upsets left and right, honestly.
I saw you have Stephen F. Austin, Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Former
They
Brad
always play
Underwood.
well though too.
I saw somebody. I was just looking through some expert picks over the break, and somebody has NC State in their Final Four.
Whoa, that's honestly not that ridiculous.
I don't think
It's super out there. I mean, they would have to play Kansas after beating.
They'd have
Seton
to
Hall
more
in
than
the
likely
first
play
round.
Clemson.
They could play Auburn. Auburn's good.
I don't think
New
Auburn's
Mexico
that good.
State also could be Clemson. New Mexico State's not bad. They beat Illinois this year.
Who do you got in Oklahoma, Rhode Island?
Oklahoma, and then I have them losing to Duke. I think Duke
Yeah.
gets to the Sweet 16.
I think Duke's gonna win it.
Because of how unpredictable people are saying the tournament's going to be, I went mostly chalk. I have 3 regions where I have the top 4 seeds all making the Sweet 16.
Boo.
Yeah, I know, and that's boring. I'm hey, I picked a 7 seed to make the Final Four once, and I got it right. Michigan State 2015. I got the entire Final Four
Oh,
right.
how
that year.
bold of you to pick a Michigan State team to make
As
the
a
Final
7
Four.
seed and no one else picked
I put
it.
they're in my Final Four every single year. I promise.
Yeah,
Yeah, my bracket
You
almost
can't
always
bet against his
depends
own
on
March.
how
Yeah.
Michigan State
You
shows
can't
up
bet
in March.
against
Because if
them.
they get upset, then it's like, oh geez, might as well throw out my bracket.
Yeah.
well, but that's how. I mean, except for like Kansas, Kentucky, maybe North Carolina. All of the other premier basketball schools are hit or miss for the tournament. Duke is hit or miss. I mean, they lost to
Yeah.
Lehigh one year. They lost to South Carolina last year.
And they lose to
And then they're
Princeton
winning
one year.
Mercer.
Mercer another year, and then
I
they were
think
winning
Princeton,
the
too.
national championship.
Yeah.
They did lose to
But that was
Princeton
that
once.
was the year Princeton went on that wild run though.
Yeah.
I think this
Oh,
could
wait,
be the
no,
year
no.
that Purdue
Wait,
makes a deeper
yes.
run the tournament.
I think so, too.
I'm just
I
not.
think Purdue's
I'm
really
not
good.
feeling Purdue. I'm not feeling.
What
it.
makes you like not feel Purdue? They seem like pretty
Okay,
solid.
well, they'll
like
crush Cal State Fullerton. No disrespect to Fullerton, but I just think Butler's has got the upset in him. I pick in the upset. I just have the gut feeling. That's what I'm going with, man. My gut. I'm just not feeling.
Say
it
gut
with the
again.
Gut.
You know
But-
that reference? Come on, somebody.
wait, what'd you say?
Say what again?
No idea.
Oh,
No
come on,
clue
Pulp
what-
Fiction.
Oh, Pulp Fiction. Okay.
Oh.
Honestly,
of course.
not my favorite
Say what
Tarantino
again?
movie though.
It's not mine either, but
Inglourious Bastards.
yeah, Bastard's my favorite
Thank
movie
you.
of all time.
And then yeah, me too. Django, second one.
Probably.
Thank you, smart man. That's why we work
Dogs.
together.
Dogs is good.
Dogs is Reservoir Good Dogs is good. What do you guys think of Hateful Eight? I didn't.
I
Think
loved it.
I thought it was good, but
It's not like top
his
3 or
best
4.
thing.
I think Kill Bill's better than those.
Kill Bill, yeah, because
Kill Bill
about
movies
that
are
one.
just
awesome.
one scene where she just kills 100 people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a wild
As we
scene.
shift to
Crazy 88s.
the madness of the Tarantino films.
People forget about them.
Yeah.
Crazy 88s.
He's got a
They could
ninth
go
movie
far.
coming out soon. Yeah,
That movie looks awesome.
yeah, it could be pretty good. I'm
I think
excited.
it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll shift to some final thoughts. A lot of stuff in the professional world happened over the weekend. Like
Tigray.
Jake Arrieta finally got signed, and the Browns decided to pull a Cavs and make 3 trades
They're
within
still
an
gonna
hour.
be bad.
We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Browns.
More Illini Drive right here on WPGU 107.1.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 1071.
Back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071. Quick little score update. Some games tonight in the sporting world. It's your last day before March Madness gets underway. ESPN tonight, some NBA action. The Rockets and the Spurs. Houston has clinched a playoff spot, the first team in the West to do so. Big game against San Antonio in Houston. That's going to be at 7 o'clock. Vegas Golden Knights, end of the first period in Philly. They lead 1-0 against the Flyers. But an even bigger hockey game happening. The number 5 seeded Illini hockey team are in the ACHA National Championship semifinals against the number 1 seed.
Oh, well, Minnesota State, but I was going to say shout out the hashtag Frosty4 because that's the best name of any Final Four of anything. Frosty4.
Frosty
Come on.
4. Okay.
Not the Frozen 4, not like the
Frosty
not the Final
4.
4. Oh.
Yeah.
Frosty 4.
So the Minnesota State Beavers, the puck is going to drop at 7 Central just in about 15 minutes. You can go watch that on YouTube. WPGU's own Cristiano Simonetta will be on the play-by-play for that game as the
Friend of the program.
as the Illini look for the huge upset and make it to the ACHA National Championship final. So check that out on YouTube. But let's go to final thoughts now. I'll lead it off with the Browns.
Can't believe it's already time for final thoughts.
I know.
Where has the past 50 minutes gone?
Wow.
Wow.
I know. Wow.
Wow.
And also, wow.
Extreme Owen Wilson, wow.
Wow. Just wow. But you know what else was wow? The Browns made 3 trades in an hour.
Wow.
On Friday, 3 trades. They got Jarvis Landry, Tyrod Taylor, and Demarius Randall without giving up their first-round pick.
Who's Demarius Randall?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Some corner from Green
from
Bay.
Green Bay.
Isn't it great, like, not saying negative things about the Browns on the radio for once?
I don't mind the moves.
Give it a couple months.
I know. Give it a couple months until when Tyrod Taylor maybe sucks and Jarvis Landry turns out to be like Josh
or when
Gordon.
he, like, suffers, like, a real fluke injury right before
I
the season
really,
starts.
I think Tyrod Taylor is like a slightly better version of Tim Tebow in that he doesn't get the numbers, but he just wins games.
It's a wild comparison.
Yeah, because Tim Tebow didn't get the numbers, but he would win you games. Tyrod Taylor really won the Bills games when he played, and it proved that when the Bills were like, okay, we're playing the Chargers, we're winning with Tyrod Taylor, let's start Nathan Peterman, and then he threw 5 picks in the first half, and they're like, we regret our decision, and we're going to put Tyrod Taylor back in, and the Bills finally made the playoffs for the first time in like 20 years.
Nathan Peterman, actually bad.
Yeah, he's not very good. And
Not great.
he might even get a starting job soon. I mean, I don't know who's the Bills starter going to be now.
Nathan Peterman.
It's going to be Peterman, yeah.
Is it
I mean,
actually?
It's going to be
as of right now,
Nathan
yeah.
J.
I would
Peterman.
assume they have to be drafting
I mean,
somebody.
yeah, unless they draft someone or sign like Mark Sanchez.
The Bills have back-to-back first-round
Oh,
picks.
bring in the
late.
Sanchez. Are you kidding me?
Or
He's
they
better
go
than Peterman.
or they go after Keenum, or they go after
Oh, yeah.
Cousins. I mean, I don't think they can get Cousins,
Cousins is done to the Broncos.
though. I don't know. Minnesota might grab him.
Von Miller
possible,
really
but
wants him.
I like the Jarvis Landry move. He's a good receiver. If Landry and Josh Gordon both play to their highest potential, that could be one of the best receiving duos
They
in
might
the
be
NFL.
the best receiving duo, actually. But like,
Yeah.
it just depends on how Tyrod plays.
And if Tyrod is going to be the first day starter, because the Browns are probably still going to pick a quarterback in the draft,
Yeah.
I still think they should take Saquon at number 1.
They have to
And
now.
because
They
there's
have
going to
to.
be
They have to.
because there's going to be a decent enough QB at number 4 to take, whether it's Darnold or Rosen. It's probably going to be like Mayfield or Allen. Steal Josh Allen from Denver because a lot of people are saying Josh Allen might
What do
actually
they have,
be
first
Den-
and 5 or first and 4?
First and four.
four.
Before
Okay, so
them
yeah,
is the
they're-
Giants and the
Worst
Colts.
case, I bet you it's going to be Darnold and I would assume.
Rosen.
but
You think Rosen too?
yeah, because
I
let's
think Darnold and Allen are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
but realistically though,
So I think that
So
would,
they'll
that-
get Rosen.
Yeah.
Oh, so I thought you meant Darnold would still be on the board.
No.
Oh, so you think Rosen and Mayfield will still be on the board then?
Yes.
it's going to be even Allen because think about it.
I think Allen's.
if
gonna
the
go
Browns
too,
pick
so-
Barkley, Giants
Need to
Giants
pick
would
someone.
Giants
Giants
would
need a
pick
quarterback.
Giants would pick Darnold or Rosen probably.
I
The
think they're
Colts
gonna
are
take Allen.
the Colts.
I
Okay,
think they
or
take Allen too.
The Colts are sold on taking Bradley Chubb. That's pretty much a given, and then
Good.
Cleveland might
That's
take
fair.
a QB or Minka Fitzpatrick. I don't know, but Cleveland made some good trades. Good
so
for
there could
them.
still be all 3 up there.
Why
Or
would
up 3
Cleveland
out of
waste to
4.
pick on a quarterback though? They already have their quarterback for
Because I
next
think
year.
Tyrod's only under contract for like a season or something.
Yeah.
He's got 2 years, I think.
I mean,
but
that
still,
offense is
like,
already stacked with the moves they made.
I know, and they have okay
But, like,
running backs, and they can get Saquon.
I just think that you need a legitimate quarterback prospect for the future. In like a league where your team is either good or bad based on if you have a superstar quarterback, like you kind of need that guy, and I don't think Tyrod Taylor's that guy.
He's not a superstar, but he's good.
He's good enough to win them.
He's gonna.
He's a 9-7 quarterback.
We'll win more than a game, which we haven't done in 2 years. So that's
When was the
helpful.
last time Cleveland was above 500?
Above 500 was 2007. They went
Yikes.
10-6 under Derek
It's
Anderson.
been 11 years.
The only home game they lost was the one that I attended, the opening game against Pittsburgh. That was a fun game, though.
So
Oh my goodness, Ori, I'm so sorry.
yeah, since 2007. When you guys... No, it was 2008 season. It was after you guys made the Super Bowl. Let's switch to baseball.
I like baseball.
Who's got some thoughts on the Jake Arrieta going to Philly, huh?
I'm sad that my dream of him coming back on like a Dexter Fowler deal is over, but like I understand it. I mean, he got a good deal for I
I mean,
think
he's
for
represented
being-
by Boris. That was
Yeah.
never going to happen.
I didn't see it happening, but I kind of just had hope in my mind that it would.
Will, Jake to Philly?
Good for
Well,
them.
I mean, it's a little disappointing, but like we just heard over there from Tommy. I mean, good for Jake. I'm glad that he's going to be pitching in the major leagues. I'd floated an idea around to all my friends for a while that I thought it would have been a good move. I think this stands for most players who are still unsigned. Like, I don't know why no one has considered going and playing in like Korea or something, getting paid a ridiculous amount of
Because
money
they
to
lock
face
you
that
in.
team. What do you mean they lock you in?
So like, if someone wanted to do that and then they got a call from an MLB team, like me and Tom we were saying off the air, like if Moustakas had held out, say he did go to Japan or something, like, and then an injury happened somewhere else and somebody wanted to sign Moustakas, like he wouldn't be able to come
But
back.
even if it was like a 1-year contract, put up ridiculous numbers and then get a.
I mean, Eric Thames kind of did that.
Eric Thames was gone for like 3 years though.
But
3-4
I know.
years.
I'm just saying, like, that's kind of an example of like what it'd be like. if
I'm just
somebody
surprised we
did
haven't
that.
heard that, like, because with the way like contract negotiations seem
Well,
to be going on.
Plus
that
the way
end.
like that the free agents are signing, like even if you wanted to do a year in Japan, like a team like I just said, Eric Thames was gone for like 4 years. Miles Mikolas, the Cardinals just signed him. He was in Japan for 3 years. Like a team's not going to pay you based on 1 year of what you do in the Japanese league.
Some other moves were made. Neil Walker went to the Yankees. Lance Lynn went to the Twins.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Neil Walker to the Yankees. I'm in love with this move.
That's a good move.
Cheap. We needed a good second baseman that could start at second base for more than 100 games in the season.
he's a solid player.
Solid hitter, solid fielder.
He used to kill us with Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was very good with Pittsburgh.
I'm so excited for the Yankees this year. I cannot wait for them to win 110 games. It's going to be
I mean,
fantastic.
that's plausible.
It is plausible.
Why? I don't think.
What,
Yeah.
how many
Come
how
on.
many do the Cubs win? 120?
No, I'd say realistically like 102, 103 maybe.
For the Yankees,
For both teams, I think is.
I think the Yankees are a better team.
Then the Cubs?
Yeah.
I,
You have
I
to
don't
say
know.
the Yankees.
Yankees-
Yankees have the better
They
lineup.
have
only
much
re-
more star power.
Farnell.
But I disagree that.
The only
overall
reason-
that-
I think even top to bottom
I don't know. I just
with Walker and Drury now. I mean, they filled every hole on their roster.
what hole do we have?
But I'm not saying the Cubs have holes, but like the little parts you could have picked apart for the Yankees, like they've filled with very quality players.
I'm just saying that overall, I think top to bottom, even if you look at a guy like, I don't know. I mean, I think if you compare our rosters to theirs, I think that we're much deeper.
I think the Cubs.
They definitely have the star power factor. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no denying that.
The only way I would say the Yankees are better than the Cubs is their offense can just overpower a team where it's their pitching doesn't matter.
Bullpen.
Whereas they have a good bullpen. Whereas
They have
the
a great
Cubs,
bullpen.
have starters that can win them games if their offense is
And
struggling.
like, I didn't want this isn't like saying like going against like what Scott was saying earlier, and like he was saying like his one worry with this team was he was worried that maybe all these pitchers don't live up to what they were. Over the last 2 years, we've consistently had a top 5 rotation in baseball, and that's without adding a guy like Darvish, without having a guy like Chatwood as our number 5. That was with John Lackey, who's giving up millions of home runs a game. And I mean, I just think that overall, I don't understand how you can already go ahead and try and say like. I think once we see the Yankees on paper, the paper is one thing, but I mean last year we thought Schwarber was going to hit 50 home runs, and look what happened. Like you
Went
things
to the minors.
You still hit 30.
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like it was a down year, but Schwarber had a huge down year. No.
No, yeah. I mean, I think.
Well, like I'm saying,
I mean,
like
I can't
people
even, I
don't
don't
always
even,
live up to expectations.
I don't even know if
is
you
what
can
I'm
say that was a down year.
It was absolutely a down year. He's expected to be like at least a 270 hitter. He barely hit 200.
I was gonna say even like the rotation though. I mean, you could argue that Tanaka and like I hate that I'm arguing for the Yankees right now, but like you could argue that Sonny Gray can go out there and throw a complete game shutout. You could argue that Severino can do that too. Tanaka absolutely can do that. I think CC Sabathia is still a guy who could give you a 3.5 ERA.
Agreed.
Like,
CC's
and
can be
then
clutch.
that bullpen's insane
Yep.
with Betances, Robertson, and Chapman at the back.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Even
crazy.
Green's pretty good.
I mean, I think the Yankees bullpen absolutely dominates the Cubs far and away. I think their lineup's
I'm not
better.
denying that.
The
don't
rotation's
think-
a lot closer than people
I think the lineup's very even,
Okay, I'll say it's even. Yeah, I don't.
and I think we have a much better starting rotation.
The key
So
difference.
they've got us beat
it's
in
not
bullpen.
that. It's not that much better.
It's better, but it's
John Lester had a 4.2 last year.
Yeah,
He's not a Cy.
Again, had a down. I'm not saying
John
he's
Lester's not a
he's
Cy Young
a
guy
Cy Young
anymore.
candidate. I've never said that.
I don't think John
But I
Lester's
still
that
think
much
that-
better than. I think.
Are you gonna say CC?
No.
And if you're
No.
saying that you think CC's easily a 3.5 guy, and you're saying that it's absurd that you would even compare those two,
Yeah, because CC got a 1-year deal
John
for a
Lester's
reason.
still a legitimate ace on most teams.
I don't know if he's an ace anymore.
No, I guess maybe not ace, but he could be a serviceable 1 or 2 on most teams.
Yeah, I think he's more of a 2
He
than
could
a
be a
1.
one on Tampa
Hendricks.
Bay.
I think Hendricks could easily be a 1 or 2 on most teams.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I think Darvish could easily be a 1 or 2 on most teams. And I think Quintana could be. a 1 or
Darvish
2 on
hasn't
most-
been dominant in like 2 years.
Darvish has been striking out 12 guys a game over his whole career.
Yeah, but
sure.
but-
don't get me wrong. He's had his issues, and he's
Yeah.
also had a lot of injury issues. But I mean, I don't know. I just think that coming over to the NL with a team like this, I think he's going to really
We
flourish.
thought the
in
NL
this.
thing would happen, and I mean, I'm not saying this is a direct comparison. Quintana, we said the same thing. I always thought
great
Quintana.
after his first
I always thought
starts.
Quintana was getting misserviced. I guess he wasn't like getting the support he needed with the White Sox, but like it didn't really change that much when he came over. I still think he's good, but he's not like great. Like he's going to carry your team.
I think
he's
that
just
he's
good.
a guy that easily goes out there and throws 8 innings of 3-run ball on at least 2 out of 3 nights.
I think you could say that about Sonny Gray too. If
Yeah,
not better.
I like Sonny Gray. I think he's a great pitcher.
But I'm just saying I don't think the Cubs rotation is that much better than the Yankees.
I don't know.
things to think about.
Tiger?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Tiger. Can we get a tiger, Jake?
Can we get a tiger?
You always do like your
a
little-
tiger watch.
Like you do your little tiger chant, like Tiger's back,
'cause
because
he's so bad.
you only Facebook
he
status
should've-
and
he
tweeted that
should've
Tiger is
won.
back 17 times
should
this
have
weekend.
won.
I can only imagine what his
brutal.
back feels like right now.
I don't think we even have to talk about that.
You don't
anymore.
think
Fusion
so?
boy.
You
Okay.
completely past it?
Recap for all the people who might have missed this weekend. Why Tiger is back?
He hit the ball really hard,
He
really
hit the.
straight,
He hit the.
and he hit a lot of putts and did
Yeah,
a good
no,
score.
but actually he did putt really
He did.
well, which was something that like wasn't that great. His driving was really good. I was very surprised by
Insane.
that.
I knew
Yeah,
Evan
I mean,
Ford
he's
was
just like
insane.
fixed the things that were bothering him the last few years. Like his chipping and like his short game and putting were always there. They were shakier than they had been the last few years, but like, I mean, he hit a 44-foot birdie putt to go tied for the
that's
lead.
classic
yesterday.
Tiger Woods.
It was a classic moment. Like it was like we haven't seen that in forever, like almost 3 years. I mean, I wrote about it after round 1. Like, let's see what happens if he wins. Then maybe. I mean, he's jumped up from like 350 something in the player rankings to like 130 something and his Masters, his odds to win the Masters are behind only Justin Thomas and Dustin Johnson right now.
It's that high.
Tigers 10-1, 10-1.
What?
Johnson and Thomas are 8-1.
What?
Yes, swear to
Tiger's
God.
going to show up at the Masters.
Oh yeah,
10-1.
easily.
He's gonna show up, but I don't think
top
he should
five.
be
Top 5.
I'd say top 5. I like that.
top 10 right now. Let me see if he wins a tournament before
Top 5.
Tiger's
Augusta.
built for Augusta.
He's built for any course. I mean, he's the most athletic
But I'm
golfer
saying,
ever.
like, he's going to show, with that man's mentality, if you don't think he's going to show up to the biggest tournament in the world,
He's definitely going to show up, but I'm not saying top 5 until I see him maybe win a tournament before Augusta. I think he needs to keep getting those top 5 finishes like he did at Valspar this weekend.
Valspar is not an easy play.
It was a loaded field.
Yeah, and it's also not an easy course to play.
And he's got some. I mean, you've got.
He's got the Arnold Palmer. He's gonna win that.
WGC
Lock it
in Bridgestone is coming up too.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's always a March.
He's gonna
thing.
win the Arnold.
You think he? Yeah,
Lock it in. He always plays
does
that well.
Arnold is this
always
weekend.
plays that
no,
well.
yeah, Arnold is
Yep,
this
this
weekend.
weekend.
Followed by the Corrales
I think
Punta Resort.
he'll skip Punta Cana.
and then Houston Open before
He'll play
Augusta,
that.
and then the Masters. Ooh, Arnold Palmer this weekend.
He's gonna win that.
I might watch some
He's
golf
gonna, he's
along with
gonna
my
win that.
basketball.
He's winning
Ooh.
the Arnold. Let's go.
Ooh, it's March.
Let's go.
Sports is good now. I'm excited. Let's go. March Madness, golf.
Yeah, he's
That's-
okay. He's gonna win either the Arnold or the WGC.
17
One of the
days
two.
till baseball.
Yep.
Baseball's close, man.
Let's go.
We're getting there.
Yeah, he'll skip Punta Cana. He'll play Houston, and then the Masters. Oh my God, let's go. He might win 2 out of the upcoming 3 before the Masters.
I think it's fair to end the show today by saying, let's go. For Tommy,
Let's go.
for Jake, for Will, I'm Ori Benatar. We'll let you guys go here as you just listened to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and info, make sure to visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-Illini-1. I realized when I did the promo before, I only said call 1-866. I forgot to mention the Illini 1.
Numbers are hard.
So don't dial a 4-digit number. It's not going to take you anywhere.
Try it. See what happens.
But make sure
people.
to tune in to our TNT crew tomorrow for another edition of Illini Drive right here on WPGU 1071.